We find ourselves once more in Epcot's World Showcase in a similar dilemma as the last time we were here, trying to find the balance of making an attraction entertaining enough for multiple ride-throughs while also trying to stay true to the people it's trying to represent. On the other hand, we have a bigger commercial star in Donald Duck. We could try to promote his likeness as well as banking on the nostalgia from the Three Caballeros fanbase. Here we attempt to objectively look at each attraction that was held in the Mexico Pavilion. So join me as we head south of the border to my personal favorite land in Epcot. Welcome back to my Disney Versus series. Today we'll look at El Rio de Tiempo and the Gran Fiesta tour starring the Three Caballeros to see which attraction is better. I normally have an idea of which way I'm leaning before I make these videos, but this time I have no idea. I think both of these rides are very overlooked, and because of how similar they are, it's very hard to pick a winner. So as I go back and watch these ride-throughs, hopefully I get an even better appreciation for both of these hidden gems. But before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that I have a Patreon with the link in the description. So if you want to support this channel and have the means to do so, I would greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, let's head back to the World Showcase. October 1st, 1982. Translating to the River of Time in English, the original name for this attraction was supposed to be the Three Cultures of Mexico. The meaning behind the name was to show the progression from Aztecs to being colonized and eventually to current day. This was the first ride made in World Showcase, but that wasn't always the plan. A rumored reason was twofold. The first being an attraction in the Japan Pavilion from a sponsored Japanese film company, Fujifilm, would feature an indoor roller coaster in Mount Fuji. The main issue being that Journey into Imagination Pavilion was sponsored by an American film company called Kodak. Kodak did not want competition being advertised in the same park that they were in. The other being a ride in the Germany Pavilion, which construction had started on but not finished, was ultimately scrapped due to Epcot being grossly over budget when first being realized. So construction on the Mexico attraction was sped up so Epcot could have enough rides to satisfy guests. Construction was successful and was ready for opening day. If you go the correct way into this land and head left at the fork, you'll be greeted by this giant Aztec temple as the first country that you encounter. The interior of the show building is set to a small Mexican market with a restaurant on the bank of the River of Time, while an Aztec temple and a smoldering volcano loom in the background. If you've never been in this building, I highly suggest it. This is a great place just to walk around and get lost in, but if you're native to Mexico, let me know how authentic this scene actually is. I always like to think this is what walking around a Mexican street market would look like, but I never want to assume unless I've been there or get the opinion of someone who's actually experienced it. The queue for this ride is small and straightforward. Typical wooden dividers serpentine across the short line. The boats are very similar from what you see from It's a Small World, which actually will be mentioned later on in this video. Your journey starts as you pass by the temple on your left and the restaurant to the right. It's always fun to see people enjoying their meal as you float along these calm waters. The first major scene takes place in the cave at the foot of the temple. Hieroglyphics lie on each side of the wall as videos of ancient Aztec rituals loop for the next 3 rooms, all while constant thudding of drums and a pan whistle play overhead. Guests then enter a room that feels like an alternate universe version of It's a Small World. Doll animatronics of children play and celebrate for the Day of the Dead holiday. The music changes from tribal to mariachi. We then transition into the tourist part of this attraction where you see the iconic film of the cliff divers plummeting into the waters below, followed by many merchants trying to sell you on their souvenirs as they constantly haggle with the people in your boat. At the ride's climax, you enter a celebration with people dancing as fiber optic fireworks explode overhead. The unloading area has a large mural of a map of Mexico as you return home. The ride was a cute experience, but with the ever-changing landscape of theme parks and the evolving interest of parkgoers, the ride would close on January 2nd of 2007. For 25 years, this attraction stayed unchanged, but in just a few short months, this attraction would get an update in the form of a film from 1944. April 6th, 2007. The Gran Fiesta tour starring the Three Caballeros would open in the Mexico Pavilion. I'm not sure if this is the change that everyone was clamoring for, but nonetheless, it's the one that we got. Outside of a few paintings of the stars of the show, the queue remained largely unchanged. Besides the narration change, the first scene where you flow past the temple and the restaurant stay the same as well. The first major differences you see are the videos playing once inside the temple, except the room layout which stays unscathed. The new clips show the Three Caballeros taking in all the sights that Mexico has to offer, while causing some hijinks along the way. The small world scene has added brighter lighting as well as a sign under the skeleton mariachi band that reads Fiesta Hoy. The tourist section is similar to the first few scenes in the temple with the band visiting all the popular tourist destinations, but it seems Donald is enjoying himself a little bit too much. He's gotten himself separated from the rest of the band so Jose and Panchito spend the rest of the scene scouring the land to find Donald to make it back to the show in time. Some of the gags include Donald chasing after the parasail after losing his bathing suit, as well as Jose and Panchito looking for Donald in a fancy restaurant while they ask the chef if they've seen a duck, to which he shows them a roasted duck. They finally find Donald at a party where they have to pull him away from several beautiful women who are reluctant to let Donald go. The ride ends with the three Caballeros making it to the concert and performing under the same fiber optic fireworks as the original ride, as well as keeping the giant mural of the map of Mexico. Since the ride isn't as popular as other attractions, there are rumors of yet another retheme, this time in the form of the Disney movie Coco. I've never seen the film and would be indifferent to the change, but the one positive thing I'll say is at least they'll pick a film that's a little bit more recent than an animated movie that was made during World War II. This attraction will always have a special place in my heart. It's not a ride I often hear talked about when it comes to ones that are no longer with us. For me, it was the first ride I was ever able to ride myself. My family ate dinner in the restaurant right on the bank of the river, and while they were cleaning up, I asked if I could go on the ride. To my surprise, they agreed. I don't know if that was the right move looking back on it since I was only 11 or 12 at the time. Something like that would never happen today, and most likely for good reason. But that one ride was such a cool experience for this young chicken. Also, one other memory I have about this ride is at the beginning of the fireworks scene, the boat was called Christina, which is also the name of my cousin. So my family always told me that the boat was named after her. Those reasons are probably why I love everything about this pavilion and not just for the attraction. For the ride as a whole, I guess it did what it needed to do. It tried to sell Mexico as a tourist destination while also showing off its vibrant culture. It didn't reinvent the wheel in any way, shape, or form, but that was never its intention. I can't say I have any real emotional attachment to this version, but that's not to say I dislike it. As an update, I think it's fine. And I was genuinely surprised of how much of the ride actually changed in the few months it took for the update. For whatever reason in my head before comparing each ride side by side, I thought they did the bare minimum. But looking back on it, adding in all the little animated movies as well as the slight adjustments to other scenes in the ride made me appreciate it a little bit more than I did coming into this video. I honestly think the first scene passing by the restaurant and the temple is one of the best scenes that Disney has to offer. As a matter of fact, I covered that in my first ever top 10 video on this channel. I was also surprised of how many of you said the concert scene at the end was one of your favorites as well. I guess I never thought about that scene in particular as being anyone's favorite. But looking back over the video, since the one I used for this only used the animated video instead of the animatronics, I could definitely see the appeal. So I guess now I have to pick a winner. This one was definitely one of the harder ones I had to choose from, but ultimately I think I'll side with the Gran Fiesta Tour. Sure, I have a big nostalgic connection with the original version, but I think the more upbeat and colorful ride is the one I'd like to ride multiple times on vacation. As for El Rio del Tiempo, it's still a great ride in my opinion, but the music and tone is a little darker than I remember it being. Hearing the old music did bring back memories I didn't know I had, but in the end the three Caballeros had a catchier tune. Let me know if you disagree down below. But guys, that'll do it for this episode. Join me next Disney Versus where my viewer King made another suggestion a few months back. He reminded me that if we could dream it, we could do it. So until next time, drop a like if you enjoyed this, subscribe if I earned it, join the Patreon only if you can, and thank you for watching.